Alright, we've got 4 packages. This one I gotta be careful of. It's a Right Stuff package, which means there's increased chance of it being, hentai. That's not hentai. Okay. Then we've got an evil package, the kind you don't use scissors on. Next up, got another evil package. Again, if y'all ever saw, when I tried to use scissors on these the very first time I saw them, there was some sort of, well, this one doesn't feel like it'd have it, but there was definitely some sort of styrofoam in the middle. I guess those don't want to be turned up. And then for this one, I like to, use myself a pair of scissors, which I keep nearby, but not specifically for recording purposes, so that's why I had to switch where I was oriented in relation to the camera. Alright, so first up on the top here we have Samurai Troopers, the complete collection, the TV series and all 3 OVA series. Legendary Armor Samurai Troopers, yeah. You may know this as Ronin Warriors, I think. Is that right? Because I think that was an English dubbed name for it. Sorry if I sound like I'm groaning. It's I had dinner and I'm very full right now. 1,000-Year Curse. Interesting. So this one says it's got English and Japanese. Collection. Yeah, this is the Eastern Star Discotheque, but they don't usually release in this kind of packaging. This almost feels more like Funimation or oh, cool. Different on the inside. Am I remembering correctly? It's unfortunate because I've never seen the series. So this last disc has the OVA series. On the inside there is a reversible cover in case you want it to look like the slip cover. Although I'm definitely a big fan of the slip cover and the DVD Blu-ray case cover looking different. Okay, who's this? Oh, this is Strike Witches, which is unfortunate because I've got other Strike Witches stuff to watch, and while season 2 definitely season 2 gave some, I don't know, it added some curiosity for the world. Time to strike back. Regions A and B. Did this one say regions on it? I don't see anything. I don't know if Discotheque Eastern Star region codes their stuff. Oh. Nice. Oh well. Am I mentally mixing some stuff up with Girls in Panzer? I don't think so. They're very distinct and different. And while this one does have some curvy aspects to it, for the most part, it definitely had some curious stuff going on. But I never went past Road to Berlin, season 3. So this is, I think, season 3, The Road to Berlin. Hell, I'm definitely mentally mixing up a lot of stuff. There's the Japanese lady in charge that the main character really liked. They all wear Japanese school swimsuits for some reason. Analog. Okay. Complete collection. was just making sure that symbol was just the... What the hell is that? Because it's kind of like the power symbol, but it's turned like that, which makes it look more like the male symbol. And it gives it a very computer thing. Sisters and brothers should love one another, just not in that way, right? So it sounds like an incest or incest comedy show. 3 episodes, it's not too long. Japanese with English subtitles. Very straightforward. Yeah, it's really hard for me to tell at a glance what exactly this is, because I don't know if I'm reading into any of this correct or not. Oh, look, it's Pokemon Journeys. The journey starts today. 16 episodes. I'm completely lost as to what this is, though. Oh well. The important thing is it's another Pokemon thing. And if it's not another season, then it's another series or something. I don't pretend to know. Again, 2 discs. It's about 8 episodes per. Alright. Next up we have A3. This is Addict Actors, and this is Season Autumn and Winter. So the previous one was Spring and Summer. And under here, we're just going underneath the sticker. Oh, okay. There's a little sticker here too saying it's a PG or something. Okay, I was afraid that, but here's the window there. I was afraid it was going to stick, ooh, different underneath the slipcover. It was cool when that happens. The previous one probably did as well. Region A, and I just didn't remember. Oh shit. Okay, y'all get to stare at this while I talk while I go and figure out where the hell did that disc drop. Right here. Oh shit. I guess this is Blu-ray, fortunately. And Blu-ray discs are a little more resilient to damage. Sorry about that. I mean, I know last week there was the worry about me accidentally cutting myself. Now this week I'm accidentally dropping my fucking discs. And while this isn't like a big expensive series or anything like that, it is probably still one that, you know, you just don't want to see somebody accidentally lose product. Next we have Heaven's Lost Property, illegitimate text, illegible text, blue. But this is some sort of movie if I remember correctly. And this is some sort of bastard sticker that decided not to completely come off in one go. There you go. Fuck you, sticker. Not as bad as the grass sticker, which don't actually stick so much as they javelin in your foot. The movie, Eternally My Master. Okay. It seems like it's been a long time since this series first came out. Some of the oldest DVDs are actually on the alphabetized part of my shelf. I can't even tell you how old that makes it. Probably means I got it before I moved here. Over 10 years old. Jeez. Got some very naughty discs here. 2 discs though. This one's Blu-ray and this one's probably DVD. Yeah, it says DVD right there. They don't look much different. Some of these characters are familiar, but the only thing I remember about this show is flying panties. And if you don't know what I mean when I say that, oh, I don't know. And then last but not least, we have El Hazard, The Alternative World Blu-ray. Obviously, the DVD version of this came out so long ago that I'm not even sure if that company's still around. That was Geneon, wasn't it? I don't know. And if you're like, what? How does this relate to the other El Hazard stuff? I don't exactly remember. It's sort of like Tenchi in that I think the beginning of the series got told a couple of times from a couple of different, not necessarily perspectives, but I guess guidances. And I forget if this is the one that continued on into some other OVAs or if that was the other one. Oh well. Well, here's this week's anime DVD collection update.
Alright, this shouldn't be a surprise to any of y'all, but, you know, me and my fighter friend watched One Piece Season 11 Voyage 6. Again, normally I would have watched it and talked about it last week, but I guess neither of us were keeping track of it, and so, you know, obviously now that we knew that it was here, we watched it. And I'd say it was pretty good. One Piece does seem to be straddling a thin line between giving us something satisfying, a satisfying payoff or something like that, versus going so crazy that it's just expanding too much. And the truth of the matter is, it's, yeah, again, it's on a fine line. To give you an example of just how bad it kind of is, in this volume, there's actually a flashback within a flashback. And if y'all ever watched Naruto or saw me comment about it, you know that I kind of mentioned how Naruto, that was actually really stupid. And Naruto, that was really stupid because the flashback within a flashback was usually a recap within a recap. So, not only were we seeing something for the second time, we were seeing something for the second time for the second time. And this is all new information, but it does mean that we're getting more insight into the world of these characters, who they are, what they were, what it means growing up. You know, the show still comes up with its own, I call it silly whimsical, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it can be off-putting in certain ways where, you know, it's just not afraid to just do something. And sometimes it's really awesome when it does it, and sometimes it's really silly, and then sometimes the really silly turns into the really awesome. It can be really quite unpredictable. But I'm definitely waiting to see how this arc resolves, if there's good resolution to it. I would say, though, that it feels very possible, simply because I feel like, I think I've described One Piece before. One of the appeals to One Piece is it doesn't just do world building, it does something that feels sort of like super world building, where you'll have a story arc that's developing. You know, you'll have arcs within that story arc, but then there'd be an even bigger arc and an even bigger arc over that. And it really does feel like this insanity does have a direction, and that's usually one of the reasons why One Piece, I think, has been able to stay strong. Although, again, at this point, it's hard to tell. It's definitely on a line there, and I wouldn't blame some people for falling off of it, and some people just being on the other side and saying, no, this stuff is completely fucking awesome, I want to keep watching this. But, you know, that's the reality of it. And, well, I mean, I'm glad that we only watched the one, because, you know, that's a lot of episodes to watch in a single evening after work. It basically means most of the evening is gone to that, and that's okay. Other than the problem that I'm maybe going to need to start doing something different related to the food. But anyways, anime watched. I've watched more Higurashi, When They Cry. Go. I want to say Gao, and I blame air for that one, but that one's more of the noise of a dinosaur makes. I'm pretty sure that's not what this one's going for. And I've been making very slow progress on this. I basically completed the first 2 story arcs, and I fired up the DVDs from the original to kind of double check, and yeah, they're basically retellings of the same exact first 2 story arcs, but something different is happening in them, and it's really hard to tell if this is a good thing or a bad thing. It could be an excuse for kind of a reboot, sort of. It's not exactly rebooting, but it is doing something that you could almost treat that way. It's just really hard to tell because whatever they're planning to do with it, I'm not really sure. Especially since I don't remember that first season of When They Cry all that well. So it may be something where I just kind of thumbed through those episodes and I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of vaguely remember this. But the first 2 story arcs I remember a little more strongly, and it's the third on that I don't remember. And even then, from going back and looking at, you know, what happened in the first season, I'm like, oh yeah, I really just did not remember what happened in what orders. So, yeah, still don't know what to think about this. And it's possible that I'll just continue watching it because, you know, eventually Season 1 Part 2 is going to come out. And nothing that arrived this week jumps out to me as, oh, I've got to put that in and watch it. Again, Strike Witches is the one that kind of interested me the most. But I still have, like, Brave Witches there. And maybe there's a movie or two. I don't know. I would have to figure out what I need to watch again. You know, y'all have seen this pile here. There's a reason I kind of have it here and keep it here. It's not just because I'm going to reach from there and do this. It's because this is stuff that's in theory high priority to watch, but some of it I just don't want to. So I do, in theory, want to finish No Guns Life. A certain Magical Index Season 3, so then I can watch a certain Scientific Accelerator and then a certain Scientific Railgun T. I mean, I'm putting rail decks off, you know? Jesus. But oh well. Anyways, that's this. If there's anything else to talk about, it would be... I have been watching a lot of anime, it's just I've been watching episodes of a bunch of one-off stuff. Like I talk about firing up When They Cry, and as some of y'all know, I've digitalized a lot of my collection. Obviously, all this shit back here is stuff that I haven't gotten around to digitalizing, and if I ever did, that would be awesome. But this isn't even all of it. The boxes in the bedroom are also full of stuff that I haven't digitalized yet. But for the stuff I do have digitalized, you know, sometimes I'll watch a series, I'm like, oh man, I really like this, I'm going to want to revisit it. So like, a lot of the isekai that I've really liked are definitely on there, and I've been poking through some of those. You know, a little bit of Rising of the Shield here earlier today. You know, I've been in a kind of disgruntled mood, I guess. I've maybe referred to it as unhinged. I think disgruntled. I don't know what it is. I'm just kind of grumpy. Sentence of Bookworm is, of course, on there because that one was great. You know, things like that. I've revisited Reincarnated in Another World with my cell phone. I've also looked at Death Parade Rhapsody of Another World. There were things about those I didn't remember. It's just like, yeah, those had their neat moments. You know, flawed in their own ways. You know, they're not going to be the top tier isekai out there, but kind of nice. I feel like there's other stuff, but I'm drawing a blank. You know, usually since I'm more just thumbing through those to rewatch parts that I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this. I don't talk about them much here, but for some reason I feel like I did that a lot this past week. I don't know. And when it comes to video games, I'm sure some of y'all are expecting a Dead by Daylight update, because obviously I've been playing that a lot. So I've reached, according to Steam, 640 hours. Now, that's how long the game has been up, and so that includes me kind of staring at the menu saying, do I have enough energy to fire up the next game yet? Nah, not yet. And so I don't know how much of that time is actually playing versus staring at menus, but it's kind of an important landmark. First of all, because 640 is kind of a fun number in computing, because that used to be an important screen resolution number. Even though nowadays, if you're doing that, then you're pretty much running a potato. A 15-year-old, no, a 20-year-old potato. I don't know. Even potatoes these days can probably have a higher screen resolution than that. But, basically, of all the high-level stuff I've focused on in the game, you know, I've put blood points into getting certain characters really up there. Certain killers, certain survivors, and I spent some time making sure that they were all leveled to at least level 15. I think I even mentioned that to y'all. After I got everybody to level 15, my goal started to be to just generally unlock survivor perks, and then to also get those on the Cheryl. And I've tried to be smart about that in a way where I don't have wasted blood webs. So it doesn't take an entire blood web just to add one perk. You know, I'll unlock 4 perks and then kind of get them all a little leveled up. And once there's going to be less than 4 in the next blood web, I'll go and unlock more stuff. So over the weekend, I finished unlocking all of the survivor perks and getting them all on Cheryl to a tier 3. And according to DVD stats, that means I spent 6.7 million blood points on her, which seems smaller than I was actually expecting, but it's probably because as much blood points as it's taken to do this project, you know, it's probably taken more blood points to unlock the perks than it has been to, you know, get them on Cheryl. And if you're curious why I'm especially focusing on Cheryl, first of all, this is Cheryl Mason. If you've played the first handful of Silent Hill games, well, okay, the first and the third game, the name's probably very familiar, but it's basically the Silent Hill survivor. And the biggest advantage of her is, of course, that she's got a bunch of legendary skins, which means she can actually, instead of just having different cosmetics and looking different, she can actually change into completely different characters. With the first two being Lisa Garland and Sybil Bennett, they were there when I started DBD. They also had a legendary skin, not a legendary skin, they had a something skin of Cheryl that was Alessa, but that one still shows up as a Cheryl. It's just Cheryl wearing Alessa's clothes, essentially, which makes sense because, you know, they're kind of the same person. Kind. But the point is, you know, Lisa and Sybil were very different people, but they still had Cheryl's voice sets. And then they introduced James Sunderland, and James Sunderland, main character from Silent Hill 2, is not only a completely different sex/gender. I mean, as far as I know, the games don't really care too much about sex gender of, like, Cheryl. I mean, the inclination is that when the parts of the story aren't about her being so young that that's not an issue, basically in Silent Hill 3 it kind of implies that, you know, she's worried about womanly stuff, which doesn't strongly correlate with necessarily being the same gender as she is, but it just kind of, it's supposed to represent her growing up into puberty, and so it's not trying to be complicated by saying, oh yes, she's different on the inside than she is on the outside. We're supposed to take it at street value and then understand the character, basically. And so that's a really long way to just say, as far as I know, they've all been girls identifying as girls up until James, which is a guy identifying as a guy, as far as I can tell. Oh well, anyways, yeah. It's I literally did that yesterday. I completed that big project yesterday, and I think that's related to my my disgruntled mood today. I was feeling it last night as well, but it's sort of like, because I suddenly have a change of direction, I'm not sure what to do. Like, I don't have any big goals like that, or rather, I do have a big goal, but it's so big, so much bigger than that, that I just can't think about doing that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that feeling of lost is translating into some of these games. Me being more irritated than I really should be. So, like, last night, I had a game where I was playing as Demogorgon. There was only one offering, and we were sent to the Raccoon City Police Department. And I actually really liked that map. And, of course, because I was feeling this disgruntled unhingedness there, yeah, basically, they ended up suffering because of it. Because normally I'm a pretty chill killer. I'll hook everybody once. Maybe if I evaluate that they're a really good team, I'll hook people twice. But the entire idea is I'm trying to, just set simple goals or whatnot. But for some reason, with I guess what happened was I was having trouble catching certain survivors when I'm like, these chases should have been over by now. They shouldn't have been able to make it to that paladin time. Why was this hallway dark? Things that people normally hate about Raccoon City. And they, for some reason, got to me this time. And then I got some scares just because the way that Jake was behaving, the way that Dwight was behaving, I'd almost thought they had intentionally sent me there to bully. And, that wasn't a very good, healthy state for me to be in. So, on top of all that, because there were some chases that I thought I should have won, a lot of them, I ended up in a state where I'm not even quite sure if I'm keeping track of who I've hooked or not, so fuck it. They sent me here, they're getting hooked until there's only 2 people left alive. And I know I was really specifically hoping for that Jake, but it ended up being the Leon and the Claire, which may have been karmic because, one of them provided the offering. I think the 2 of them were together just based on the way they were playing. Like, they weren't playing like they were always at each other's hips, but more like they were more aware of each other than the other survivors. The Jake I thought was playing the strongest. The Dwight probably seemed the newest and the most lost. But, yeah. Now, to give them some credit, I was going to say they 3-gen themselves, but technically the big problem with Demogorgon, especially on a map like Raccoon City, is pretty much any combination of generators is going to be a 3-gen, especially if one of those 3 is the generator in the center room. And that one got contested the most, and so it was still there when there were only 3 gens left. And the big problem there is Demogorgon has the ability to place portals down, so he can travel across the map pretty easily, but if he places them next to generators, then when he's got his shred attack charged, he can sense when people are near his portals, which gives him the ability to guard all those portals. And then what you do on top of that, since he has a total of 6 portals, you might have add-ons that change this stuff, is you place portals in other strategic locations, expecting survivors to get rid of your portals. Like, if you're at one generator and you go through the portal, because it takes a while for it to recharge, that's an opportunity for people that are like, all right, let's start working on that generator, to get on that portal, seal it, get some work on the generator. But the problem with that is, again, Raccoon City, and if you did that with the room in the center, or with the generator in the center, there was one up here, and I don't try to understand where I'm specifically saying if you know the map, because, my left is your right, and my right is your left. And I'm thinking of it less from the entrance and more from I'm staring down at them, because I was the killer that started in that mansion. They had the audacity to come in here. Woo-ha-ha. So I'm kind of indicating things weird and backwards, and the backwards may be confusing. But it basically meant when they cleansed that portal, I could come from this generator up here and get down to them. That one was hard for them to find. This one was easier for them to find than that one when they were trying to find a different one to work on. Problem is, this one had a backup portal next to it, so it was impossible for them to kind of get rid of that, and that basically meant that there was just enough pressure such that 2 people eventually died. And yeah, now the very nice thing, I'm glad that in my unhingedness I didn't tunnel and I didn't camp. Those are good valid strategies. They can be dick moves. Very easily they can become dick moves. But it should have been pretty clear for them. I wasn't going for people when they were unhooked. I wasn't staying near someone. If I was just on the other side of the map and the person got unhooked and I had nothing else to do, of course I'm heading back to see if I can find anybody. And if I find 2 survivors in there, the one who was unhooked and the one who unhooked, I'm going to go for the one who unhooked. That's just what I do. And hopefully they felt fair, because at the end of that match, everybody had been hooked twice before anybody died. It was pretty close because that Jake was a bit of a slippery little snot. And he got hooked for his last time, and then the Leon got captured and then the Claire, or maybe it was the other way around. But yeah, and then at that point, Barbecue let me know where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go up here. They see me, they start running, but I turn away from them, attack the air, go away from them, and I don't know if the Dwight got it, but I knew that the Dwight would, the Jake would understand. That meant that the blood toll has been paid. Go ahead, finish the last generator. I'm not going to bother y'all. And, Jesus, I had 31,000 points. Which basically meant that if I had sacrificed one more person, I would have had the perfect 32,000. And it's very possible the entity may have been very pleased with me. Actually, I probably did get a Merciless, because I probably did double pip. But, I don't know. It's interesting because a lot of that is normal play, but a lot of the way I played it is definitely not normal. And it is a very hard map. And it's kind of funny when you think about Resident Evil mixed with Stranger Things. If you didn't know I was talking about Stranger Things Demogorgon when I mentioned that, well, that's the thing. That's the portal thing. So, I'd like to say it was satisfying. It's satisfying to know that I can murder people on that map if I feel like I absolutely have to and I'm playing the right kind of killer. But it also says that I was just kind of in a very weird mood, and I've been in a weird mood today as well. I really do need this overarching thing, and it's really hard because putting all the perks onto Cheryl was a very straightforward, reasonable thing to do. Not only had I prestige 3'd her, but it didn't matter if I prestiged her. I had other survivors I could play as until I finally got her to where I wanted her to be. And Killers isn't quite the same thing because there isn't a one-size-fits-all strategy for killers. There's a lot of perks that work on a lot of the killers, but when I prestige a killer, if their moveset, which I really like right now, is no longer present, then, well, then what do I do? If I level them all up so that I unlock all their perks, then when I prestige them, in order to get sets that I want to, I'm pretty much going to have to accept that the killer is probably not going to have the perk loadout that I care about. Not that they're all really great. And so I'm focusing on Demogorgon right now because leveling him up to 50 and just seeing what perks I end up unlocking on him is really great. And they had to fucking make it hard for me to decide, oh, do I get the tier 3 barbecue and chili so I get maximum blood points from him? I really do like playing him for blood points every once in a while. Or do I get save the best for last, which is a really great perk on him because it has to do with interacting with the people who are obsessions or not obsessions. It makes it where you don't want to use a simple attack on an obsession, but Demogorgon's secondary attack, which has no interaction with save the best for last at all, is really spectacular and great for doing damage to the obsession anyways. So, save the best for last is really great on it, but maybe I don't care for that one. I did get Nurse's Calling on it and replaced it, I replaced Fearmonger with it. Because Fearmonger is okay. I mean, it's really disorienting and annoying, but Nurse's Calling should be interesting just because if I really do want to down people, it allows me to happen upon people who are healing nearby and, you know, get them for it. Obviously, some characters are even better at that than others. Nurse, of course, being probably the best at that because if they see somebody healing, they can teleport right where they are and hit them. But I digress. Apparently, I digress a lot. I've been rambling on for a little bit now. I can't think of anything else to really talk about. I guess only other thing would be thoughts of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Sounds interesting, but I almost suspect, even though I think that comes out really soon, sometime this month I thought maybe, or maybe it was next month. I think I might not play that immediately. I might deliberately put it off until the trip that I go And I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I won't. Oh, cool. Twitch streamer I'm watching is being sent to Midwich. So I'll go ahead and wrap this up so I can watch that. I love the map. I'm gonna love watching them suffer through it or kick gas in it. I hope they kick gas in it. But y'all, have a nice week. Try not to be unhinged.